But you know what? Thinking about all of the activities that went down at the conference, I'm forced to ask you what you would describe as the most critical breakthrough of the conference.
Without bathing and likely, I will tell you that local governments should be the business of the states.
I mean, the management, creation,
funding. Management, funding, everything is a business of the state government.
No autonomy for local governments.
Oh, full autonomy. But creation, funding, management, and so on. In other words, when a chairman of a local government is elected, you don't wake up on the right side and say, I don't like this man, I hereby sack him. That's what goes on now. We all took the decision that if there is no elected government, there should be no funding.
Tell us more on the funding issue, because when you say funding, because I thought that they should also be able to fund and run the local government.
Well, we said state government.
Because if the state gives the money, then they can as well dictate how the business should go.
This is the situation as it is now. They don't give them the money directly, but they dictate what happens to the money. And we said no. States should have states finance committee that should also be sharing revenue the same way we have federal allocation committee. And any money coming from the states should be handled by the local government directly, provided it is an elected local government, and provided the governor has no powers to sack such a person. The House of Assembly has no such powers to sack the person. Second, of course, the second breakthrough we have is that we said any state that desires state police should go ahead and get one, provided you need it, provided you can fund it. In other words, you cannot send me as a policeman to go to Borno, to go to Sambisa Forest, when I don't even know what that kind of forest looks like. You cannot send somebody from Sokoto to go to Yenagoa, to go to the creeks.
So did you decide on how the multi-level policing should be formed?
Yes, state police will only handle state matters. Murder, stealing, road network, and so on and so forth. Federal police will be interested in all this kind of bank fraud, treason, and so on and so forth. As is done in some countries. It's nothing new.
How did you overcome that argument where they always talk about state governors abusing that power?
Yes. If the state government has control of state police, we said, fine. As it is now, there is abuse of power at one level or the other. So we said, if we must practice democracy, let us take that step. It was a big fight. But then we also said, for a federal commissioner of police to be sent to a state, you must do that in consultation with the state governor. What we had in mind is the situation in Rivers State where you have a powerful commissioner of police and a powerful governor, each of them dictating what happens.
Yeah, but isn't that word consultation a bit, won't it give room for different things to happen? Because remember the case of the NJC appointing the chief judge, the governor says, no, I want to accept this.
I can even discuss NJC as a separate topic, because as a lawyer, I know the issues there. But first and foremost, the issue of federal police in consultation with the governor is diluted by the presence of the state police handling state matters. You, the state governor, what's your business with federal matters? That's why that one we believe is also done. Now, NJC, National Judicial Council, one of the funny things is that virtually all the serving judges, some of us consulted, said, please, we are happy with the National Judicial Council as it is, privately, not publicly. We asked them why. They said, we don't want somebody breathing down our neck. A judge said, I can give judgment knowing firmly that for me to be sacked, it's not the state attorney general, it's not the governor, it's not the commissioner for finance who says, why did you give judgment against me?
You were in the Judiciary Committee.
Yes.
Did you talk about how judges are appointed in states?
Yes. In fact, as it is now, there's no problem with how it is now. The nomination comes from the State Judicial Commission. Of course, the states, just call it the states government, because they're all either part of the executive in the state or part of the judiciary. Now, it's the chief judge who sends the decision of the commission to the National Judicial Council. And they give their reasons. National Judicial Council says, now you just don't wake up and nominate somebody. You must show evidence of practice, including judgments in the cases he has handled. Not when you get somebody who was busy doing some menial work somewhere and then you make him a judge. The National Judicial Council will now ask around. They have ways of making inquiries. And they recommend A, B, C, approved. D, not approved. They now send back to the same state judiciary that forwards it to the governor. It is now left for the governor to make public the announcement. State government has appointed so. They will be sworn in so date.
Have you heard that school of thought that says, look, that if I'm a governor and I appoint judges across board, and to some extent, I mean, some say the unspoken rule is that they will be beholden to me. I get judgments when I want. Remember, some governors talked about this black market injunction. So, did that pop up at any time?
Yes, it did. Whether those who have been appointed will feel themselves very much bound to return the favor. It depends on the quality of the people you appointed, which is why a vibrant Nigerian Bar Association is paramount.
Is that the case now?
Oh yeah, it is. They have a say, informally. But remember that in the National Judicial Council, we also have Nigerian Bar Association nominees. Right now, Nigerian Bar Association wants to play a greater role in the nomination, appointment, and so on, of not just judges, but also the chief judge.
But how come we have people who ask questions to, look, tell me which state high court has given any judgment that does not favor the governor?
There are many. The only thing is that high court judgments are hardly reported. But they do that all the time. If I sue the Attorney General, it is state government. Judgment is in Lagos State where we are. It's an everyday affair.
You didn't,
yes.
You didn't touch on corruption.
Oh yeah, corruption is one of those words which will always exist in every country. Fighting corruption is something we all must put our hands on. And that's one of the things we said there. But to now say A is corrupt without doing more on how to reduce the corruption, it's not good.
What were the moves at strengthening institutions to making sure that we reduce or stem the growth of this menace?
Well, one of things we said was that the burden of proof in corruption matters. Where should it lie? In other words, if I say that Chamberlain is corrupt and you are not corrupt, it is for me, as it is today, to prove that he's corrupt. But one of the things we said is that when your earnings are an issue, in other words, Chamberlain is stupendously rich, and it's an issue in court, you have to show evidence of your wealth. Where did you get it from? That's one of the things we decided that we had to shift it a little. In other words, when we are finished serving as a minister, I know that the Code of Conduct Tribunal is there, and so on and so on, but it's not really a court, it's a tribunal, an administrative tribunal.
What are their limitations?
Well, they really can't send it to prison, but make some decisions, such as you cannot contest election, you cannot do this.
Would it be right to say the conference embarked on constitutional amendment?
Oh yes, we touched on very weighty constitutional issues. Some of them may never see the light of day. In other words, anything we talk about, the number of sittings in the National Assembly, we talk about their earnings or expenditure and so on, definitely the National Assembly will strike it down. It touches on them. So for us, the Constitution, we had some very, very serious constitutional changes from either the judiciary or the legislature or the executive. But you must understand that at this moment, it is still a proposal which will be sent to Mr. President that set us up. Mr. President has a coterie of advisors.
Is that what the conference has decided?
No, I'm just analyzing what will happen. What we have decided is what we give him.
I thought you said that the
of
conference will or can decide what becomes of their recommendations.
Oh, no, that's going too far. The conference was set up by Mr. President. Our duty is to submit our report to him.
No, but was that on the cards at any point in time, that the conference will decide whether or not their recommendations should go to the National Assembly or a referendum?
No. That argument came up by some people, and the issue was this. Who set you up? Mr. President. He said, advise me.
No, but didn't he make that comment as well?
On the modalities for implementation. That was his expression. Advise me on the modalities for the implementation. And that's what we have been doing. In other words, how will Mr. President bring these things into effect?
So what did the conference recommend?
All these things will come out in our report, but I can even go further to tell you this. All executive issues will go to Mr. President to implement. He does not need a law. All policy recommendations, it does not need a law. Now, the ones on the judiciary, we talked of how to bring justice to the people. I'm only happy that the immediate past Chief Judge of Lagos State, Justice Ayotunde Phillips, in an interview in the newspapers this week, also harped on some of those things we decided without even letting us know that this is this. In other words, she agreed with us that the Chief Judge or the Chief Justice has some powers to make rules that are called practice directions. In her own case, she was talking of sentencing guidelines. You don't need a law. For the ones involving the National Assembly, Mr. President has to, and us too, we have to do a lot of work to persuade the legislature, probably the next legislative assembly, not this one, to work on them. Because this one, I think they see us as the enemies.
All right, Chief Goddy Uwazurike is a delegate at the ongoing national conference, and they will be reconvening on the 11th, you say?
Yes, of course.
All right, thank you for coming on this morning, though. We'll be back in just a moment. Join us again.